joy being the last speaker, of course, is that you're all getting like, wow, do you know how many more people? And that's no disrespect to anybody who's just spoken. I was going to get you all to stand up for 1 minute, please.
Are you joining?
And just try and move on your feet if you can. Close your eyes. And some of you might know this exercise, but you're going to go for a walk in the park. It'll take 15 seconds. Close your eyes and just imagine sunny day. You're walking in a park you know, whether it's here or wherever you might have been born, anywhere that you know. And you see two people on a park bench who are kissing. So just think about that for a minute. Who are they? What do they look like? And so on. You can open your eyes now and sit down. That'll just wake you all up. Now,
Okay.
that'll just tell you as a starter for how we work in LYCS, before I even tell you anything about LYCS. We have to have the people in front of you listening to you. That's the first thing. And even by standing up makes you think, okay, you better listen to what she's saying. Because unlike the formal sector, where you are fortunate enough, we would say, that you have a captive audience in front of you, people who have either enrolled in a course or in college or they're primary school, they can't escape the room and say, I've had enough of this, I'm going to go home, thanks. We don't have that luxury. We have to go and find the people we work with, and we have to get them in, and we have to catch their attention. And we use words like we have to fire them up, we have to see their eyes open up and with, oh, that's really interesting, why are you saying that? And how do we do that? I hope I'll try and explain it to you. The reason I asked you to do that, because the other issue that we cherish is difference. And if I had the time to go around and ask all of you, what did you see? What did the couple look like? It will tell you the difference in terms of people thinking in the room. And nobody's wrong. You know, did you see a young couple who were white kissing? Did you see a gay couple who were white kissing? Did you see a mixed race couple kissing? Did anybody in the room see an elderly couple kissing? Did you? Good. That's the rarest one, I have to say. And but we use that as, that could take up an hour-long session, that very little exercise, because we get people to think that difference isn't bad. You know, just because you had that thought doesn't mean you're right or you're wrong, or somebody who thought about the elderly, they're not wrong. In fact, I think it's amazing you would think of elderly, but it's only two of you in the room. What's wrong with elderly people kissing, folks? I'm nearly there myself. So, look. Oh, that's my computer. Okay, so we are LYCS. We're based in the North Inner City, which some of you will know is a very, very poor area. We still think it's probably one of the poorest areas in the state, despite all sorts of government intervention. We still have a huge issue with drugs, huge. I cannot tell you how bad it is. On the street, we fight it every day. Every committee I'm on, we fight it. We have a Garda Síochána, or policing service, which is not able to tackle the issue, who have literally thrown their hands up in the air and said, what can we do? And of course, the drug issue, it will never be solved by policing anyway. Now, Eilish, I'm getting a dry mouth. What the hell? It's the podium, isn't it? The wood's been treated and we're all dying here from some toxins. But the North Inner City is a beautiful place. I'm there, I have to say, nearly 30 years. 30 years, this year actually, 30 years. And, you know, I came for 6 months and I thought, wow, I'm out of here. I worked in London, I worked in the East End, and I came back from the East End and I thought, this is the Bronx, even though I'd never been to the Bronx. It was just destitute. It was a very grey, wet day, I must say. The poverty, you could feel it. If you've ever been, not today I would say, but in the past, if you've ever been to a drug funeral in Sean McDermott Street Church, you would weep with the poverty in the air. It's not even, you can just feel it in your bones, because the funerals are amazing, but bloody hell are they sad. And there's what we would see as multiple levels of dysfunction, multiple levels of tragedy. It seems that people who get afflicted, for want of a better word, with one tragedy get more. So even to get people to tell their story, you would go, how do you get out of bed in the morning? And yet these are the very people who the state likes to think have equality and access to education. Eilish, you said everything was political. Education is absolutely political. Everything we do is political. I don't use the word very often because you shouldn't, really, if you want to get funded by the sector, let me tell you. And last year we got funding from 33 different sources. So we have a lot of people to mind. We have about 5 big funders. And one of the best is Irish Aid. And I really mean that, because they're the only funder that gives us 3 years funding. Every one of our 60 staff are on a 1-year contract. And that you can't plan, if you're on that kind of a contract, you can't attract people in, good people in to work with you either. And this work requires, several people said, you said it particularly, Lily, it requires people who are passionate, who are really interested in it. Because you know what? This work changes every day. And you have to be in a space where you want to learn yourself about what's working, what isn't working, how you can change it. And that's what we do. We're constantly asking ourselves, what are we doing? Are we doing it right? And the people who tell us whether we're doing it right are the people in front of us. So today you can tell me whether I'm getting this right or not. And I am slightly nervous now, which kind of surprised me. As you can see, I can talk a lot. And I've told them already, I can't do this in 7 minutes. But so,
I'll keep an eye on time.
No, don't. You just stay. They'll be so entertained, they won't want to go. That's what you have to think about. But the reason, if I'm nervous about anything, I'm nervous about the fact that I will not be able to do it justice. Come to LYCS if you want. The work there is amazing, and I don't do it, remember? I might run the organisation. I do a lot of the funding applications. I don't do the work in the rooms. I used to do that, but I don't do it anymore. But when you see it in action, development education, global citizen, I hate all those terms. I hate all of them. I have a huge issue with language. We use plain English in LYCS. I think you won't hear me using another piece of jargon, for the rest of this session. We don't use it because we have people in front of us whose education has probably not ended in formal education with a leaving cert. They're at a much lower level. They don't understand the jargon. You have to start off with explaining the jargon before you even get to what's difference. They don't even understand what does difference mean. So you're into a situation where you have to speak the language of the people who are sitting in front of you. It's really critical that that's done. So that's what now that we use it all the time, I kind of speak that language as well. But suddenly lost my train of thought there now. Maybe I should go back to a slide. Jesus. Okay, so what do we do? You can read the vision and the mission some other time, but it is well thought out. It's not just done like that, it's well thought out. We have a new strategic plan, which we did kind of steal the template from somewhere else that I won't name here because they might kill me. They don't know that we stole it. But the template is all about how we do what we do. It's not about what we do. We don't care what we do to some. I actually don't care what we do. I care how we do it. So I don't care. I can't say this. Are you the only government person in the room? I might seriously get into trouble. We have a community training centre for early school leavers. They are required to get 5 modules every year, okay? I actually don't care if they get them. That's the truth. What I care about is that they leave us, because they can only stay for 2 years, and they leave and they have registered to vote. That's what I care about. I care that they become active citizens. They know their voice in the world. They know they have agency. There's jargon. That they know that they can be part of the world, because all of these people feel excluded, I can tell you. Some of us in this room feel excluded as well. I feel excluded from Cork. I'm not from Dublin. I don't belong here, folks. I'm just telling you. And there's no Cork person that can stand on a podium and not say they're from Cork. It just always happens. But, exclusion. I worked with the Irish community in London for years, and you felt excluded there. You were white. You felt privileged you were white in London, so you didn't have the issue of colour. But I was there in the 80s when the IRA were bombing half of London, and then you open your mouth and they could hear you weren't English, So exclusion is something we all deal with, and the very people in front of us are people who are always excluded in some ways. We have people, all the issues that you would deal with, gender inequality, like girls having to leave school at 13, back in the day now, not maybe today, but girls still thinking they can only do some particular courses. The transfer from secondary school to university is minimal. Could be 1%. The day I get most mad in this work is the day the Leaving Cert results come out, because nobody talks about them in the North Inner City. They're not relevant. And even if they do, it's to get on a PLC. And then when they get on a PLC, you've got people going into beauty, or you've got people going into physical training with an express decision to work for themselves in the black market. So they're not into, we're into careers, not jobs. But everything is a struggle, and it's made worse I won't tell you the secret why it's gone worse, but I'll tell you that in a minute. I better go on because my 7 minutes are up already. Okay, so this is what we do basically, where we will use global citizenship for this today in this room. But we have 250 local people in every week. We have a very large creche, and we have an adult education programme. We have a community training centre. So we have every course under the sun that you could possibly think of, but not one course is run without GCE in it. That's the trick for us. And that's something that we decided ages ago, but it took us a long time to get it right now, and we're still in the middle of it. So I'll go on and show you how. So, right, big issue is migration, and this is going to go through everything I'm going to say, because migration has changed the landscape for us in the North Inner City. This used to be a white, pure white community, only up to maybe 15 years ago, and now that old-fashioned Dublin inner city community that everybody loves and thinks everybody's neighbourly, and actually that's true, that is true, that's why I've loved working there, but that has completely changed and brought with it all sorts of challenges, and it created a very challenging environment now for GCE, let me tell you. We've seen a rise in the far right. I might get into it later. I absolutely hate the word far right. I wish we would eliminate it from our vocabulary. We're only giving them agency. There's only 1% of the population who really support the far right. The rest are all in between. We need to work with the in-between people, and I'll show you how we do that in a minute. Okay, see, I can't read this. There's definitely reductions in social cohesion insofar as, like I said, it used to be a very cohesive community where neighbours help neighbours. That has really, really, unfortunately gone. And, okay, like I said, it's the challenge for us now, a really big challenge. So here's some of the experiences, and these are real. So we had parents now who'll walk their kids down to school, down to our youth club. We had a youth club last year. And, 20 years they would send them down. We had a 6-year-old boy bringing his 3-year-old brother to our creche one day, and we said, actually, your mother needs to do that. You can't just come down in your pyjamas and drop in a child of 3 into our creche. And now they won't walk down the street because they think they're going to be raped, they think they're going to be kidnapped, their children. They think they're going to, it's just absolutely crazy, but it's real. It's what people really think.
Sorry, Sarah, just one more minute if you could.
Oh yeah, that's not
Sorry.
Sorry. Are you all happy for me to go on a little bit more? Okay. So there's a massive fear the streets are unsafe. Actually tell people not to play with minority ethnic children. Very, very sad. And the perception is immigrants are causing all the problems in Ireland. Ireland was a great country before immigrants came in, and immigrants are using all the resources of the country. So that's what we have. And we have people in front of us, that's what we expect them to be thinking. And they are thinking that. So how do we bring them from there to a different place? And we do. And it's magic, absolutely magic when it happens. So we enable people to examine their own bias and assumptions. We create a safe space where people can articulate their issues without judgment. Somebody else said it earlier, and forgive me for saying who, but you have to find a space where people can say what they're actually thinking. Not say what they think you want you to say. Like Lillian, saying to you, do I call you black, or do I call you brown, or do I call you, what do I call you? No, even Ireland hasn't figured this out, because I lived in London, it was a bit easier. Black people were black, and they, generally speaking, you call them black. And I say that to Irish people and think, you can't say black, you can't say black. Jesus, it's racist. We have to decide ourselves how to use language in a way that works, instead of hiding behind it. Now, all of this is notwithstanding, there are racist people out there, folks, and we need to call it when we see it. And then we've put a huge effort into finding minority ethnic community people to come in, because most of our work is on word of mouth. They will not come in unless somebody talks to them. In our creche, 5 years ago, 25% were from minority ethnic communities. The next year, 0. And we said, holy good God, what happened there? And it's just that we didn't go out and find them. But they're in our community. And if you're delivering a service in a community where it's word of mouth gets people in, then you better talk to the people you want to get in, because they won't hear that word of mouth. Because Mary is telling Joan, Joan's telling Maeve, you know what I mean? They won't. Nobody's telling Lillian, because nobody knows Lillian, and she's black. Do you get me? So it's all sauce. Lillian will tell me later that I'm getting this all wrong. I hope not. So why do we do it? I mean, I've said this before. Basically, there is nothing as powerful as GCE to change somebody's perspective. I'll give you a quick example. So a woman comes into us, and even they're playing guitar, and then we do some GCE work, and we talk about violence against women. And once you've created a safe space, which is community development, which is another lecture, but once you create a safe space and people feel safe to say what they want, somebody in that room might think, I'm actually a victim of domestic violence. And then they find out, hang on a second, so is Mary sitting over there. She doesn't live in my street, she lives in another part. And then you look at like the rise in domestic violence against women in Ireland is shocking, as we know. And then you look at violence against women globally, and suddenly, I'm giving you a very short cut, this could be 3 or 4 sessions now, but slowly they get to the point of thinking, oh, it's not my fault that I didn't cook the chips right on Friday night and I got hit over the head. Do you know? It's actually a global thing. And that is so empowering, and you can see people in front of you changing their lives. Now they can go and feel I can get help. It's not me, I'm not the one that's wrong. It's a much bigger systemic thing that's happening. So, So the other thing we look at is media, because media today, this is new to us, new for all of us. Social media is such a massive part of their lives. There was a woman on RTE interviewed in Coolock when the riots, whatever you want to call it, was happening. And the RTE person said to her, so what's your big issue? And she said, I don't want my children being raised as Muslims. I'm sitting in my sitting room going, what the hell is wrong with her? And the RTE guide said, why do you think that's going to happen? Well, that is what's going to happen. It's going to happen. In 20 years' time, our grandchildren will be all learning, they'll be Muslims. Now, the RTE guy didn't know what to say. He was struck dumb, moved on to somebody else. But we need to create a space where that woman can come into our room and say exactly those words, and we then challenge that with, where is the evidence? Because the gossip and the word of mouth that's going around is shocking. And people have to join in, because there's then a sense of, you're not with me or against me. And if you're against me, then you're part of the problem too. So, you know, all those thoughts are just like bandied around phrases that nobody has fact-checked them, nobody has looked into them deeply enough. Are they actually true?
Sorry again, Sarah.
Oh no, you're not going
last section. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, give me 2 seconds. Okay, 2 minutes. We work with a whole range of participants, inside and outside. We changed all our governance stuff. And just, I want to talk to you about some of the work that we did. 2 minutes on that. We have a stained glass group who created absolutely wonderful pieces of stained glass, and through using the SDGs as a means to show the world as it is today. And 2 years of their fiddling with their stained glass and making it, and we have somebody in with them, and we have an artist who's big into GC working with them. So they learn all about whatever SDG they picked out. And this was put into the Hugh Lane Gallery. Now the 2 issues there are, one, they learned so much about their place in the world. The second thing is changing the institution of the Hugh Lane Gallery, who never ever in all its 100 years history had anything from the north of the city on display in its museum. So that's where we're at. We have a group of Muslim women who desperately wanted to learn how to swim, couldn't learn how to swim, because they can't go into a pool with other people. We got Dublin City Council to close the pool for an hour to get them into swimming with a teacher that could teach them how to swim. So they're kind of the minor things. We work with children as well, and the last one is our threads. We had a group doing drama, and again, they created a radio play which will be launched soon on the challenge of living in the north of the city. It's set in a cafe with a new multicultural community, and how do you go from being this indigenous white community into living in a multicultural community and celebrating everybody. It is so powerful, you nearly cry at it. They wrote it themselves and they performed it themselves. And this is the kind of thing we need Irish Aid funding for, and we need a lot more of it, because the voice of the dissent, like the voice that's out there with that far-right voice, is very small. But the only way to change it is one-on-one. You can't change it with mass media, it won't work. You have to get people in a room and talk to them and really hear their voice and really respond to their concerns. I think I have to stop now.
Thank you.